Words. They don't just communicate thoughts. They reveal the hidden things in our hearts. They don't just communicate ideas. They create worlds. The mouth and the words we say are a creative force that is not only used all the time, but everywhere we go. Our words are the very essence of how the Creator made us. Join us as we discover the essence of man and the power of speech. Hello and welcome to day 43 of the Essence of Man and the Power of Speech. And this week is going to be, I think, probably one of the best weeks when it comes to talking about this subject. And so what I want to talk to you today about is striving for spiritual goals. The concept is sometimes I think people think just because they're born again, there's nothing else to do. Now, I understand it's not by works. I get that. We're not saved by works. Yet, Paul said, don't let your freedom cause you to sin. In other words, there's certain things that are our responsibility, meaning we have obligations to do to avoid sin, to do good, to love and to forgive and to do all these things. So there's certain things that we have to do, which means, okay, if I'm born again, then my goal ought to be to maybe forgive people, to love people better, to do things that are more pleasing to the Lord, okay? And so by doing so, what I'm doing is I'm setting, I guess, a spiritual goal, for lack of a better term. And so spiritual growth doesn't happen unless something is, number one, desired. Okay. Number two, sown. Number three, understood. Number four, done with discipline. And then the fifth thing is given out. In other words, lived out and shared. Let me give you an example. Unless I desire to be a better person, I'm not going to be a better person. I don't care how saved I am. If I don't sow into my life through study of Scripture and prayer, then I'm not going to develop any kind of understanding of what I'm supposed to do. And if I don't put discipline to it, I'm not going to live it out. And if I don't give it, then I'm not even productive. Jesus said, freely you have received, freely give. Okay? And so what we're seeing here is there has to be some things done in order for spiritual growth to happen. When it comes to things like Lashon Hora, there has to be a desire to not speak evil. Okay? If you don't even have a desire not to speak evil, then you're going to speak evil. Simple. And if you don't sow the proper nourishment in your body, so to speak, which is learning to reprogram your mind, whatever things are pure, just. And if you don't sow proper words of edification into you, then guess what? It's not going to happen. You're not going to speak those things out. But more importantly, if you don't understand, if you don't start sowing into your life why speaking evil is wrong, then you're never going to have the discipline to speak good things or Shimrosh Halashon or You're not going to have the discipline to speak words of edification. You're not going to have the discipline to guard your mouth. Therefore, what are you going to give out to others? You're going to give out words of evil speech. And so I think it's important that we understand that not speaking evil is not beyond comprehension. It's not beyond the ability of a person to not speak evil all day and every day. If that's the attitude, then we're already in trouble. And so if one is going to attain spiritual goals, then he's going to have to do these 5 things. He's going to have a desire. He's going to have to sow into himself. Then he's going to have an understanding of what he is sowing into himself. And then the discipline to carry it out. And then he's got to do it. The discipline to carry it out and do it. What I mean by that is, because it almost sounds like saying, but it's really not. When I discipline myself, I am preparing the steps for doing it. I'll give you an example. A runner, if he's going to run in a marathon, he has to be disciplined to train before he can run in the marathon. If he's not disciplined in his training, he's not going to be able to finish the race. Okay? So there's a difference. I want to read to you out of Proverbs, okay? Listen to this. Proverbs chapter 2. Listen to this. If thou seekest her as silver, and searchest for her as for hidden treasures, then shalt thou understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. What are we talking about? Well, let's go up. My son, if thou wilt receive my words, verse 1. My son, if thou wilt receive my words and hide my commandments with thee, so that thou incline thine ear unto wisdom, and apply thine heart to understanding. Yea, if thou criest after knowledge, and liftest up thy voice for understanding, if thou seekest for her as silver, and searchest for her as for hidden treasure, then shalt understand the fear of the Lord, and find the knowledge of God. Now, we've talked about that. If you've listened to any of the Proverbs things, we've talked about this. The fear of the Lord is reverencing fear, but the knowledge of God is an understanding of creation. It's the understanding of how and why God has created us, and what our role is and what our responsibility is in this earth. And so what I want you to understand is, if we don't strive for spiritual goals, then we're not growing. I appreciate the fact that people have given their life to Christ, but Paul said, follow me as I follow Christ. There is a growth pattern here that has to happen. And when we talk about growth patterns, one of the first things that we're going to have to understand as believers is we got to change some habits. And that's pretty much what this week's going to be about. Because it's not impossible not to speak. In other words, you can stop speaking evil. But there's at least got to be a goal not to speak evil. You got to at least have a goal. If you don't have a goal, then what are you striving for? You know, and so that's where the desire is. If we, you know, when I say desire, I'm not saying, man, I know I need to do that because it's the right thing to do. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is, you know, Lord, I am committed to this thing. This is what I really want to do with my life. I'm tired of disobeying your command, because where we realize this is sin. Okay, this is sin we're talking about. Speaking evil is sin. So it's not just trying to be a good person. The goal is not to sin. So that starts with a desire. Number one. Number two, what are you sowing that's keeping you from speaking evil? You know what? If you hang around gossipers, you'll become a gossiper. If you hang around complainers, you become a complainer. What are you sowing into your life? What kind of time are you spending sowing spiritual food into you? The next thing is, if you don't understand why evil speech is wrong, you'll never attain or arrive or achieve the goal of not speaking evil. And the next thing is, if you don't discipline yourself, put a guard over your mouth, you're definitely not going to do it. But then the next thing is, you got to start living the life of that which you've been disciplining for. Okay? So remember, if you seek for her as hidden treasure, you got to seek it out. You got to want it. You got to desire it. You've got to search this thing out and say, you know what? This is my goal. My goal is to have a clean mouth, a pure heart, clean hands, pure mind. This is my goal. Starts with a desire. What are you sowing? What do you understand? What are you disciplined at? And lastly, are you doing it? Okay? So, the goal today, have a goal. Have a goal not to speak evil. Okay? Hey, we'll see you next time on The Essence of Man and the Power of Speech.